Duck is very proud of being Great Western. He talks endlessly about it, but he works hard too and makes everything go like clockwork. It was a splendid day. The trucks and coaches behaved well. The passengers even stopped grumbling. But the engines didn't like having to bustle about. There are two ways of doing things, Duck told them. The Great Western way or the wrong way. I'm Great Western and don't we know it, they groaned. The engines were glad when a visitor came. He purred smoothly towards them. The Fat Controller introduced him. Here is Diesel. I have agreed to give him a trial. He needs to learn. Please teach him, Duck. Good morning, purred Diesel in an oily voice. Pleased to meet you, Duck. Is that James and Henry and Gordon too? I am delighted to meet such famous engines. The silly engines were flattered. He has very good manners, they murmured. We are pleased to have him in our yard. Duck had his doubts. Come on, he said. Diesel purred after him. You're worthy, Fat. Sir Topham Hat to you, ordered Duck. Diesel looked hurt. Your worthy Sir Topham Hat thinks I need to learn. He is mistaken. We Diesels don't need to learn. We know everything. We come to a yard and improve it. We are revolutionary. Oh, said Duck, if you're Revo Thingamgummy, perhaps you would collect my trucks while I fetch Gordon's coaches. Diesel, delighted to show off, purred away. When Duck returned, Diesel was trying to take some trucks from a siding. They were old and empty. They had not been touched for a long time. Diesel found them hard to move. Pull! Push! Backwards! Forward! Oh! The trucks groaned. We can't! We won't! Duck watched with interest. Diesel lost patience. He roared, gave a great heave. The trucks jerked forward. Oh! They screamed, we can't, we won't. Some of their brakes snapped, and the gear jammed in the sleepers. Chuckled Duck. Diesel recovered and tried to push the trucks back, but they wouldn't move. Duck ran quietly round to collect the other trucks. Thank you for arranging these, Diesel. I must go now. Don't you want this lot? No, thank you. Diesel gulped. And I've taken all this trouble. Why didn't you tell me? You never asked me. Besides, said Duck, you were having such fun being Rev whatever it was you said. Goodbye. Diesel had to help the workmen clear the mess. He hated it. All the trucks were laughing and singing at him. Trucks are waiting in the yard, tackling them with Diesel. Show the world what I can do, gaily boasts the Diesel. In and out he creeps about like a big black weasel. When he pulls the wrong trucks out, pop goes the Diesel. Growled Diesel and scuttled away to sulk in the shed. Diesel, the new engine, was sulking. The trucks would not stop singing rudely at him. Duck was horrified. Shut up, he ordered and bumped them hard. I'm sorry our trucks were rude to you, Diesel. Diesel was still furious. It's all your fault. You made them laugh at me. Nonsense, said Henry. Duck would never do that. We engines have our differences, but we never talk about them to the trucks. That would be disgraceful, said Gordon. Disgusting, put in James. Despicable, finished Henry. Diesel hated Duck. He wanted him to be sent away, so he made a plan. He was going to tell lies about Duck. Next day, he spoke to the trucks. I see you like jokes. You made a good joke about me yesterday. I laughed and laughed. Duck told me one about Gordon. I'll whisper it. Don't tell Gordon I told you. And he sniggered away. Oh, guffed the trucks. Gordon will be cross with Duck when he knows. Let's tell him and pay Duck out for bumping us. They laughed rudely at the engines as they went by. Soon Gordon, Henry, and James found out why. Disgraceful, said Gordon. Disgusting, said James. Despicable, said Henry. We cannot allow it. They consulted together. Yes, they said. He did it to us. We'll do it to him and see how he likes it. Duck was tired out. The trucks had been cheeky and troublesome. He wanted a rest in the shed. The three engines barred his way. Whoosh! Keep out. Stop fooling, said Duck. I'm tired. So are we, hissed the engines. We are tired of you. We like Diesel. We don't like you. You tell tales about us to the trucks. I don't. You do. I don't. You do. The Fat Controller came to stop the noise. Duck called me a galloping sausage, spluttered Gordon. Rusty red scrap iron, hissed James. I'm old Square Wheels, fumed Henry. Well, Duck? Duck considered. I only wish, sir, he said gravely, that I'd thought of those names myself, if the dome fits. Oh, he made trucks laugh at us, accused the engines. The Fat Controller recovered. He'd been trying not to laugh himself. Did you, Duck? Certainly not, sir. No steam engine would be as mean as that. Diesel lurked up. Now, Diesel, you heard what Duck said. I can't understand it, sir. To think that Duck of all engines. I am dreadfully grieved, sir, but know nothing. I see, said the Fat Controller. Diesel squirmed and hoped he didn't. I'm sorry, Duck, but you must go to Edward's station for a while. I know he will be glad to see you. As you wish, sir. Duck trundled sadly away, while Diesel smirked with triumph.
Percy's ploy. When Duck was sent to Edward's station, Diesel had to manage the yard alone. He was delighted his plan had worked, but his inexperience led to disorganized sidings and delayed trains. Percy came to keep the yard in order, but despite his best efforts, Diesel ignored his help. "He's awful," Percy complained. "He spends more time lurking amongst the trucks than shunting. I don't know what you three see in him. Duck is much better." "Ha! snorted James. "We've no patience for gossipy shunters. And that goes for you too, little Percy." Percy said no more, but decided it best to keep a watchful eye. The first train of the day is Henry's stopping service, followed shortly by Gordon's Express. One morning, Diesel put the coaches for these trains at the wrong platforms. When Henry arrived, he backed down onto the Express. By the time the station master worked out what happened and the signalman cleared a path to the correct coaches, Henry was delayed, and none too pleased. 10 minutes behind schedule, he fumed. All due to your inadequacy. Revolutionary indeed. If my trains are late again, I'll give you revolutionary. Diesel had no reply. He sulked angrily, thinking how to pay Henry out. By the next morning, Diesel had a scheme. He purposefully put the coaches at the wrong platforms again. Percy, shunting nearby, was about to speak up when Henry arrived. "What's this?" demanded Henry. "Don't tell me you've made the same mistake again." "Why, certainly not. Your words taught me a valuable lesson," Diesel replied greasily. "This is a change requested by the Fat Controller himself. The way I heard it, you pull the Express much better. Gordon is only suited for that kipper of yours now. It's your turn today, and perhaps forever." Diesel scuttled away, leaving Henry full of pride. When Gordon arrived, he was surprised to be coupled to the local. Percy tried to tell them what he'd seen, but Gordon and Henry argued so bitterly that no one paid attention. In the end, Gordon left with a very late local and a nasty disposition. "That Henry," he complained to Percy, "saying he pulls the Express better than me. On what railway is that true? My passengers have never once complained. And to suggest I'll be pulling the flying kipper, oh, it's disgraceful. Where did he get such an idea?" "From Diesel," retorted Percy. "I tried to tell you earlier." "You silly big engines," scolded Percy. "Diesel made you act horrid to Duck, and now you're being horrid to each other. Sit around and moan if you'd like, but I've had enough." Percy stormed away, leaving Gordon with much to think about. Soon, Percy had devised a scheme of his own and was chatting with the trucks. "You know," he began, "I've heard something rather interesting." Tell us, begged the trucks. "Diesel thinks you're easy to push around. He says he's got you following his every command." The trucks were furious. "Someone should show him a thing or two," smiled Percy, and he scampered off. The trucks began plotting at once. Someone was going to be them. The next day, Diesel shunted the coaches for the first two trains and was readying James's slow goods. The trucks began giving him trouble. "Come on, you wretched things," he growled. "Move!" "As you wish," they laughed. As they crossed the junction points, it happened. The trucks surged back and pushed Diesel off the rails. They sat blocking the line to the Express. At that moment, Henry arrived. "What on earth are you doing? You're in the way of my Express!" Sir Topham Hatt came to see what the matter was. "Please be off with your local train, Henry. I'll attend to this mess." Henry was confused. I thought you wanted me on the express, sir. And where did you hear such a thing? By the time Henry finished, Diesel was looking rather pale. That will be all, Henry. Hurry along to your train. As for you, Sir Topham Hatt said, turning to Diesel, I shall deal with you later. Before long, Percy and the Cranes had Diesel back on the rails. He spent the rest of the day in the sheds. When the big engines returned, they hissed and glared at him. Silence fell when Sir Topham Hatt arrived. My engines do not tell lies, he began sternly. I will not stand for deceitful behavior like this. Furthermore, you have shown you are incapable of handling the work in the yard. I am most disappointed. You will leave this railway at once. Without another word, Diesel squirmed away. As for you three, Sir Topham Hatt continued, I hope you've learned a valuable lesson about trust and loyalty. I don't expect my engines to believe unfounded claims. At least one engine saw sense. Although I don't approve of your methods, Percy. He trailed off. Percy blushed. Sir, how did you— However, winked Sir Topham Hatt, so long as it remains an isolated incident, we shall say nothing more. Now, can I count on you to handle the shunting until Duck returns? Certainly, sir, peeped Percy, and he hurried off to tidy the yard. Sir Topham Hatt returned to his office just as the telephone rang. Yes? Come again? A barber shop? Gracious goodness me! I'll be there right away. But I'll say no more, or I shall spoil the next story.
Duck, the Great Western Engine, puffed sadly to Edward's station. It's not fair, he complained. Diesel has been telling lies about me and made Sir Topham Hatt and all the engines think I'm horrid. Edward smiled. I know you aren't, and so does Sir Topham Hatt. You wait and see. Why don't you help me with these cars? Duck felt happier with Edward and set to work at once. The cars were silly, heavy, and noisy. The two engines had to work hard, pushing and pulling all afternoon. At last, they reached the top of the hill. Goodbye, whistled Duck, and rolled gently over the crossing to the other line. Duck loved coasting down the hill, running easily with the wind whistling past. Suddenly, it was a conductor's warning whistle.
That sounds like a guard's whistle, he thought. But we haven't a guard. His driver looked back. Hurry, Duck, hurry, he shouted urgently.
Hurrah! 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 Laughed the cars. We've broken away! We've broken away! Chase him! Bump him! Throw him off the rails! They yelled. Hurry, Duck, hurry, said the driver. They raced through Edward Station, but the cars were catching up. As fast as we can, then they'll catch us gradually. The driver was gaining control. Another clear mile and we'll do it. Oh, glory! Look at that! James was just pulling out on their line from the station ahead. Any minute, there could be a crash. It's up to you now, Duck, cried the driver. Duck put every ounce of weight and steam against the cars. It's too late, Duck groaned. He veered into a siding where a barber had set up shop. He was shaving a customer. The silly cars had knocked their conductor off his van and left him far behind after he had whistled the warning. But the cars didn't care. They were feeling very pleased with themselves. "Beg pardon, sir," gasped Duck. "Excuse my intrusion." "No, I won't," said the barber. "You've frightened my customers. I'll teach you," and he lathered Duck's face all over. Poor Duck. Thomas was helping to pull the cars away when Sir Topham Hatt arrived. "I do not like engines popping through my walls," fumed the barber. "I appreciate your feelings," said Sir Topham Hatt, "but you must know that this engine and his crew have prevented a serious accident. It was a very close shave." "Oh," said the barber. Oh, excuse me." He filled a basin of water to wash Duck's face. "I'm sorry. I didn't know you were being a brave engine." "That's all right, sir. I didn't know that either." "You were very brave indeed," said Sir Topham Hatt. "I'm proud of you." Sir Topham Hatt watched the rescue operation. Then he had more news for Duck. "And when you are properly washed and mended, you are coming home." "Home, sir? Do you mean the yard?" "Of course." "But, sir, they don't like me. They like Diesel." "Not now. I never believed Diesel, so I sent him packing. The engines are sorry and want you back." A few days later, when he came home, there was a really rousing welcome for Duck, the great Western engine.
He's full of surprises, just like he'll always be. He brings some razzle-dazzle to the yard. He's full of surprises, as you can plainly see. He don't find being surprising all that hard. Some would probably say he's only up to his old tricks, but he'd say he's a problem solver, looking for a nice quick fix. He's full of surprises, just like he'll always be. He brings some razzle-dazzle to the rail. He's full of surprises, as you can plainly see. He's trusting his surprises to prevail. He hopes his time being surprising doesn't fail. They used to call him devious, because he had a bit of previous. But please